Not everybody belongs in front of a microphone or a camera. Anybody that has had major success in media, there was something different that made them different. Whether how they delivered or what they said or what their niche is, something about them was different.
How do they gain confidence in themselves?
Confidence is built through consistency. So you have to just do it. I don't even care if you don't put it out. Go make 100 videos of yourself that no one ever sees, but continue to get better every time you do a video. And then you'll notice that when you start to release those videos, no one's even watching.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Business Podcast. I'm your host, Javi Chavez. Today I have somebody who I actually respect a ton with your work ethic. I think that's unmatched, and the creativity and just the time that you put into like everything and building out the team and seeing you like become a leader as well, I think has been amazing. But this is Justin Berry, the man behind 1 billion views online, the man behind Ryan Pineda. And how are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me on. Yeah. Appreciate those words though, dude. That's awesome to hear, man.
No, seriously, man. And I mean it. And so why should somebody create a personal brand in 2024 versus just running paid ads?
Oh, dude, I got so many answers to that. Just to start though, like, first of all, you want to be trustworthy, and nothing's more trustworthy than not paying for something, right? Like, and you know how this goes, right? There's a lot of products out there that you may have tried because a person told you that it was good, right? And then there's some products that you try just because you know that there's proven, behind it, right? So what I mean by trustworthiness is simple. If you put money behind every single thing, I feel like you're saying it because you're being paid to say it. Whereas if you build it organically, and I actually trust you, I trust you from a personal level now, right? Like, you're showing me things in your life. You're showing me, right? And that's what personal branding is. It's like, I don't teach you about my business and then leave you. I give you other elements. You're vulnerable with me sometime, right? And then it gets more powerful. So I always think know, like, and trust when we do that. Like, I want you to like me. I want you to trust me. All right, getting to know me is something different, and making sure that you do know me is about how much I put out and how you play the game of quantity over quality sometimes. But it's just about that trust. If I can build trust with you, I know you'll continue to stay with me on and on forever. So the second thing I would say is longevity, right? Like, how long do you want to be doing this, right? Like, and that's one thing. Like, no matter what the market does, an individual that has the trust of his people can withstand whatever happens, right? Your business fails, I start a new one, I'm still alive because people still trust me and know that I'm trying to do and present a product that will work. So it's like all these different pieces that play a part when it comes to that, especially when it comes to that longevity. Authority, right? Yeah. I mean, you're learning about it, I'm learning about it, like what it means to actually have authority over a specific market or a specific niche. There's so much power in that, because no matter what takes place and whatever you see someone else doing, no matter what is out there on social media, you begin to realize, okay, like, I'm still a leading voice of what we have going on. And then people come to you for information. Yeah. All right. Once you start to build that authority and it starts to grow and you start to see like newcomers coming, like, hey, Javi, I recognize you. You're this. Right? You're the person that has done this, right? Like, and then it's like, okay, yeah, that's me. Again, you'll still have a product that can withstand test of time, right? And get you that longevity. And then probably the last thing I would say, truthfully, is like, there's a difference, right, in growing something organically and then growing it through some paid ads. Is that when you grow organically, you can shift and do all these different things, right? Because if you followed me because of you seeing things about me and having kind of an inside look of who I am and feeling relatable to me, you're not following me just because of the product. Yeah. Right. And so that gets you to stay long term. And now if I right now I'm teaching content, right? If tomorrow I decide to sell preset packs, and then the next day I decide that I want to start a car wash up the street, you're probably going to come through to the event when I throw the car wash, right? Whether you need your car cleaned or not, it's just, oh, that's my guy. Like, I support him. And we see that all over in like celebrities like the Kim Kardashians and the Kanye West. All right, I got a funny story about Kanye West, if you don't mind.
Yeah, tell me.
So we were watching the Super Bowl, and I know you saw it, his commercial, his Super Bowl commercial. Yeah. All right, and if you haven't seen it already, just look it up. It's the funniest commercial that has probably ever happened at the Super Bowl, but it looks like he's on an Android phone with bad reception, all right? And he literally goes, well, what's up? It's Kanye, or it's Ye. Yeah. Yeah, I paid $7 million for this slot, so I didn't have any money to actually film produce a commercial. He's like, but I got these shoes. I'm selling, and you can go to the website. I'm gonna put text down here. This is how he's talking on the commercial. I'm gonna put some text down here. You can get them shoes, and I got that's it. Commercial ends.
Yeah.
Spent $7 million to put that out. Now the paid ad, right?
Mm-hmm.
He made $19 million in the first 24 hours, right? So made a return, and I'm sure if you had if you could spend $7 million to get 19.
Yeah, and people are still talking about it.
But it wasn't the paid ad. It wasn't that it was the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It's the personal branding, right? It's because people already trust Kanye to come with certain fashion and like they trust him already, and they're gonna purchase no matter what. Like what he sold was a sock with some rubber on it.
Yeah, I saw them. They were nothing, man. He tried to sell them for like $200 at first, right?
Yeah, they were selling for $200. That day he ended up selling it
like
for $20.
$20.
But he made $19 million on it, right? But it's not because he paid for the Super Bowl ad, all right? And that just tells me like the quality of his commercial didn't matter, right? I saw a comment that was like, it cost him $3 million to do the right? Because of how much time he did that. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, like it's more that it was just Kanye or Ye. He said if you call him Kanye now, it's like disrespect. So it was more because it was Ye, right? So it's like stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, you should be trying to grow organically even before you begin to put money behind things.
Man, but what do you say to people who say it's so hard to like consistently be putting out content? And, I guess a better question would be, should I also be boosting my content to like try to get more people like in the door that are going to know, like, and trust me, or should I just stick to the organic all the way?
No, that's a good question. And I think the answer to the first one about it being hard is anything that's worth it always is hard.
100%.
Right? So trying to find shortcuts and trying to find the easiest way, it's good to do, it's good to know. But it's never going to be easy to really see the success that you really want to see. Because what happens is you go the easy route and you get something easy, and then you're just going to move the needle, right? Like you're just going to keep going. Like, what's the next thing that I can accomplish? So I'm not saying take the hard route. Instead, I'm saying take the route that's more valuable. All right. The audience that stays with us, and let me just use Ryan Pineda since that's who I've been with for 3 years. It was almost 2 years before he put money behind something.
Yep.
All right. So you're talking about over 1 million followers before he actually went and spent some money to try to do more. All right.
But really quick, what would you say to people who are like, that was a different time?
What has changed?
I mean, people would say that like in 2020, like he blew up on TikTok and got like 1 million followers real quick. And then, I mean, he was already doing good on Facebook, and I don't know what his Instagram was like at the time. And I'm sure it was maybe like 100,000 or something like that. So now there's so many more people in the industry. And again, I don't think this is true. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I know that's a common belief that's out there.
God's advocate, right?
Yeah.
I think there's some truth to it, right? Obviously, the industry is true. Like, there's more people. But when I hear oversaturated, it's a myth. It's not real. There's billions of people. So, like, his 1 million followers is nothing compared to how many people are actually on the platform and how many people you actually have the opportunity to have impact on and give value to. So, like, I get it. Like, to me, you sound scary, right? Like, that you don't want to try to go after it. And I look at everything, because I play ball, I look at everything like sports, right? Like, I go, you're the guy that's like, man, if I was 6'3", and you're 6'2", right? Yeah. It's like you have every tool you need. The platforms are free, right? You can use your phone that you got in your hand, right? You got everything you need, but you're finding an excuse
reason not to do it,
right? So it's like, like you gotta get real with yourself for a moment and go like, is this something I really want? And no matter how hard it is, I'm going to go after it.
Exactly.
Right? So it's just that's all a part of it. But your second question was about.
Should I be boosting posts?
Boosting, right. So here's what I'll say about that as well, because I do believe that you should, especially if you are a smaller creator. Yeah. Like, I've seen it work where someone boosted a video that was already doing well, and it just kind of take off, right? Because you're helping the algorithm to do, and the platform to do what it needs to do to get more eyeballs. So I've seen that, but I think you got to be strategic with what you boost. I don't believe that boosting every post works. Yeah. Right? Because I don't believe that you're actually getting the audience that you want, and you're definitely not getting an audience that's going to stick around and follow you and support you, no matter how many views it gets. But when you have something that is working and you know it's working, that's the best time to put some money behind it and make it work. So it kind of goes both ways. I think, like, should you do the best thing to do is to do a hybrid of both. You should be doing some organic, right? And you should also be doing some paid stuff.
I agree with that. And actually, I did that with one of my like better performing videos. And I was like, screw it, I'll throw $100 just to see what happened. And then like I got an extra like 200 followers just from boosting it. Yeah. But it was like you said, it was already a piece of content that was like valuable and people were already interacting with organically. I was like, shoot, like I'll throw it out and see what happens. And so,
yeah, because a piece of content that's working is going to do what it needs to do because that's why it's working, right? Like I always say, like I can put out a piece of content that I know is going to do well, right? Like it's going to get some views. I know like people are going to be entertained by it, but I know it's not going to do anything for the business.
Yeah,
I know it's not going to bring any opportunities my way. I just know people are going to like this video, right? I do that just for to create the engagement, and with the hope of you scroll up and watch another one, and now I'm hitting you with the value piece. Which one would I put money towards? The value piece, right? Like I don't put money behind my entertainment, anything entertaining, right? I would put the money behind the value piece because that's what get people to support.
So just to repeat what you said, just to make it clear. So put money behind the piece that is actually valuable and make you a thought leader. Why not put money behind the thing that's like just entertaining?
Well, you got to figure out what your goal is. Like I don't sell views. And I don't sell subscribers. Like I always tell people, I could point you in the direction of the educator that will do that for you, that teach you how to go viral. That's not me. My goal is to get you leads in your business and hopefully find profit in the business, right? My goal is never to get you views, right? Like, and I know people hear that as a wealthy creator, leader.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, but like, I don't, like, if you got 400 views on a video and you can convert 20%, I'm ecstatic. And so would you be.
Yep.
Right? Like, so like, that's where that's what I want to go. So like, put the money behind the value piece that then has the opportunity to convert. Why put money behind me slapping somebody on the strip?
Yeah.
Right? It's going to go viral.
Yeah.
Right? Like, or me doing something silly. Like,
not going to be the right kind of people.
The audience would mean nothing at that point.
That makes sense. So what do you think about these companies that are sprouting up that like promise to do like these engagement, I don't even know what they're called, but it's like these groups of people that all get together, they all follow each other, they all comment on their thing to try to like boost the algorithm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's a hard game to sustain. Right? Like, and so for me, it's like, yeah, sure. Again, go get your views, go get all the subscribers you want. And then at the end of the year, let's see who made what. Right? Like, cause I know, like, and I found that out through experience, right? Like I've worked with creators that get tons of views and they do numbers on everything, their podcast, their short form, everything does crazy high numbers. And then they get into a podcast with Ryan here and every question is about business because they just can't figure out why they're not making money.
Yeah.
Right. Like I even had a guy, and I'm not going to say any names, but I had a guy come in here and in front of Ryan, right? Like he knew I was like the guy that was helping Ryan and doing all the stuff in the media. He goes, dude, you should be getting way more views. You should have way more subscribers than this. Like this content, like what? You should be doing way more than this. And so I'm laughing because I'm like, what are you trying to do here? It turned out that he did have a company that sold views. So I was like, okay, I get it now. I didn't know that at the time. I was just like, what's wrong with you, bro? Like,
why
are you doing that? You know what I'm saying?
I'm right here.
Yeah. So the podcast, Ryan started a podcast with his second guest and he was in the office. And so I go, bro, you really do get, like, you get millions of views on every video. I go, what's your strategy? How's you making this happen? One, I was like, is this even real? Like, are these numbers even real? I was like, two, when I finally watched his page, I was like, okay, it's all entertainment. It's all Mr. Beast style of video. So, of course, you're following Mr. Beast game plan, you're probably going to get some views. But then I'm scrolling down and I see a link for a T-shirt that he was selling. And I go, oh, man, how much you making on these T-shirts? I'm thinking about dropping a line myself, right? And he's like, oh, I don't sell a lot of those. I go, no? He's like, nah. I was like, how many would you say you sold this year? He's like 12.
Wow.
So I go, you're getting millions of views. Like it was like every video was like 1.4, 1.5. I go, you got 2 million subscribers and you can't sell a $12 T-shirt. I go, our content doesn't suck, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like
our content's doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think people need to recognize that because I think people take for granted the 400 viewed video. Whereas
what do you mean?
I look at it like this. If you took 400 people and put them in this room across from us and stood up in front of them and talked out your video, you'd feel a little different about whether or not that's a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Whereas you look at the view count at 400 and you're like, man, I'm not getting any views.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So a lot of it is perception. Like they're not looking at the view like it's the actual soul of a person.
Yeah.
They're looking at it like it's just social media and like from the social media eyeball. But you got to look at what it is. Like, again, we do events 4 times a year. We do workshops once a month. Our workshops, it can have up to 200 people in the room sometime. And our events have up to 2,000, right?
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, I feel different when I walk out on that stage and there's 2,000 people standing there.
Yeah.
Versus my 2,000 viewed video. I'm like, oh man, come on, like you know what I'm saying?
What are you doing this?
Yeah. I need a new hook. So it really is perception on how you think about it.
And I think there's something like, because I'm starting to look at the analytics now of like the podcasts, and so I think it was like 3 days worth of content people watched in the last 28 days. So shout out to you guys, by the way.
Yeah, keep watching.
But yeah, if you could have somebody spend 3 days with you, like that's crazy. And then obviously I know on Ryan's platform, and I mean your channel's popping off too. So if you guys also aren't following,
subscribe. Wealth the Creator.
Yep. And it's just so incredible to see, and like getting people to spend that much time with you. Of course, obviously, again, they're gonna know, like, and trust you, and then want to go buy.
Yeah.
And so, what would you recommend to somebody who's like brand new to content, knows nothing? Where should they start?
Right from where you're at, pick up your phone and just talk about something that you learned today.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you're trying to build authority, people don't want to see like you walking your dog without information. Right? Like, yeah, the dog is cute, but I'm not coming back to see the dog again. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or in your case, a cat, right? Like, it's a cat, right? Like,
no one cares.
Yeah. Like, but if that cat is just there and you got it on your lap and you're rubbing it, but you're giving me value, I may be like, that was weird, but I'm gonna come back and see some more. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
Think about how many people watch the weirdest things on there. I have found myself watching like octopus escape things. And I'm like, why am I stuck on this? Right? But it wasn't just that the octopus was escaping out of this little hole. It was more of the guy telling me information on how it's how it has created to do that.
Exactly.
Right? It's the value of it, right? Like, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just funny. It's all kind of weirdo stuff that's out there, but it's like, yeah, if you get stuck on it, you're trying to figure out why. It's because of the information that you're getting. So yeah, like at my lab, we sat in his living room and he filmed half of the podcast rubbing his dog. Right? It's weird. And you're looking at it, but you can't look away. Yeah. Right? And at the end of the day, all the value was really what I got out of the podcast, not the fact that he was rubbing the dog. The dog was like a hook. Yeah. Right? And
so how important is that? Like, I don't want to call it gimmicky, but like how much, like that, like eye-catching stuff. Like, should people be trying to do that or is that too fabricated sometimes?
Yeah, no, it is too fabricated sometimes. The most successful people that do it learn that it's something about them that is the gimmick. Yeah. Right? Me and Ryan call it the it factor. Right? Like, we can look at someone who's on social media and go, that's their it factor. What it is ranges from everything. Like, it could be that you're 6'8". It could be that your nose is wide. It could be all these different things. It's something that makes you unique, that catches the eyes, right? Like, so the gimmicks, like, for example, everybody, kind of makes fun of Ryan sometimes when he does his hair color, right? But look at what y'all talking about. Yeah. Like, even the hate comes in and the comments are about the hair color. Yeah. It's like, well, it did what it was supposed to do because it got you to remember Ryan Pineda, right? It stopped you and all your scrolling, and for some reason, like, who's this guy with this red hair, right? But somewhere in there, you probably took in the information that he was given as well. So it's like, these are all pieces of like the it factor of the individual. For sure. You look at the like anybody that has had major success in media, there was something different that made them different. And then there may be multiple people that have some of the same things, but something about them, whether how they delivered or what they said or what their niche is, something about them was different. Yep. And so every individual has that. Yeah, I would agree. And make no mistake, and I know they're going to hate me a little bit for saying this, not everybody belongs in front of a microphone or a camera, right? Like, that's just what it is, right? Like, sometimes you're better off finding how to serve people a different way. And I told my coaching call this the other day, my class, I go, I know some of you all are podcasting and you're trying to figure it out, and on camera you're really awkward, but in conversation you're amazing. Maybe just turn off the cameras and have an audio podcast. Oh, interesting. Maybe not necessarily put out clips. Maybe just put out audio, right? Like find different ways, because podcasting was just audio in the first place beforehand, before it blew up to what it is now anyway. I was like, so like there's ways of creatively doing it. Not to say that I'm the guy that should be in front of it, but that's a mindset, right? Like, all right, work to get to where you want to go on that. So if you're just starting, talk about what you learn on a day-to-day. Talk about some experiences. Talk about the things that have made you who you are, so that the audience begins to go, oh yeah, I know Javi. Javi's the one that has done this. Javi mentioned, did y'all hear what Javi said the other day? It was deep, right? Like, he talked about how to scale your business. He said to do these 3 things. Did y'all see that video? Right? And you're building authority as you're building an audience.
That makes sense.
Right? Like, I really think that Wealthy Creator, even my Instagram like page took off, like, quote unquote, in the last 6 months, just because people the people that knew me weren't used to hearing me speak. I've been behind the camera for all these years, right? So it's like a shock. Like, what's Justin up there? Right? And then they see you on stage and like, whoa, he doing, like, what is this? And it's catching people's attention. But even more than that, I think they're learning things about me that I've never shared. And so I'm sharing things that are relatable to more people, right? There's more people that can relate to, getting uncomfortable and being in a setting that you're not used to than there are that's like, I crush in every setting.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Because you got them people too. But it's more relatable. So the more that you can find that is kind of relatable to the masses, the quicker you'll see like success on the platform.
And you brought up a really good thing right there. What's my ratio between like me giving out value and then me being relatable and just authentic me?
Yeah. And I would tell you a number, but there's no number. Right? So like when you think of what's my ratio, it's more of what is the goal, right? So right now I'm in a season of growth. My goal is to grow the channels, right? The pages. So I'm going to put out a little bit more relatable, which I really call more narrow or more broader topics and information than the more narrow niche information. So like you got some people that are building their brand on being a content creator. Right, and let me teach you how to create content. I'm not necessarily building my brand on that. That is just a piece of the brand. Because
what are you building your brand on?
My ultimate goal is to be, a leading voice in content creation education. So like I'm not building it to teach all the time. Like my goal is I'm hoping that I'm helping you be able to teach it. Right? Like, for example, if you were, you're going to grow your sales team. Do you go up every single time and talk about sales, or do you talk about the psychology behind sales?
Got it.
See what I'm saying? So like you could break down to me how you would psychoanalyze my brain so that you can sell me, right? And then I would take that information and go teach it to my team. I want to be the one that's teaching it so that you can go teach it to the team. I don't want to always go, let's look at your analytics.
Yeah.
And let's see what the algorithm says. Like I don't want to do that. I'd rather give you more so that you can go out and do it. That's why if you look at some of our top students that have come through the program, they're making money now teaching content.
Yep.
Right?
I think almost all of our best students are
all of them are doing it. All of them are doing it. Like I got guys making $1 million on curriculum that we gave to them a year ago.
Yeah.
Right? And it's really because once they saw it and you teaching them to kind of think themselves, right? Okay, not everything works for everybody, but this worked for me. How can I broaden this so that it could work for you? And that's kind of how I approach even the education. So when you're building your brand, you got to figure out what the goal is. Like, is it to grow following? If so, do broader pieces, right? Talk about broader things. I'm hoping that my editors clip the Kanye because the Kanye is broad.
Yeah.
All right? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
But do they need, if I go over your analytics right now, can they clip that? Does that make sense? No, there's going to be a certain amount of people who usually are either in my position as a director of media or videographer somewhere. Those people will enjoy it. But most people are going to be like, but I don't care at all about YouTube's analytics. Right? And so you got to decide like where you want to go with this. If my goal was to get every videographer in here to learn from me, then you'll see a lot more content on videography.
Yeah.
Specifics like this camera, this lens, this all the tech, like, but it's not. That's not my goal. My goal is to reach business owners and be able to kind of help grow their brands that way.
For sure. So if I'm hearing you correctly, like if I'm a business owner and my goal is just to generate revenue for my business, that I need to create more content just catered towards those specific people. So understand my target customer, understand like what they're looking for, and then just create that content.
Yeah, feed them, start solving their problems.
And so and you mentioned the it factor. And it's funny, when I blew up on TikTok and like way back in the day, we used to film all my videos in my car. And it wasn't on purpose. It was honestly because I was so embarrassed. I had roommates at the time. So I didn't want to be in my house filming videos or having them hear me.
Gotcha.
So I was like, I'm just going to go in my car. They're like, so Javi's been gone for 2 hours. Where's he at?
He's just in the parking lot driving around.
Yeah. But then people would be like, dude, what's this guy doing in his car? Like all the time. Like, and then and then people would comment like, bro, you're going to get in an accident. And then and it just turned into like a kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And, I'm not saying that that's my only it factor, but I think that's just things that like unintentionally kind of become your thing, right? And the funny part about Ryan too is like everyone talks about his hair. He had that hair before he got on camera.
I mean, what's he supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
which I think is crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's a part of the brand. Like it's a part of him.
Yes.
Right. Like, and it's funny too, because like I've had people even on Wealthy Creator podcast go, how long does it take for him to do that? I'm like, bro, he wakes up and just comes out. Like it's just like, you know what I mean? So like he's Johnny Bravo for real. Like that's just who he is.
Yeah.
But it becomes a part of the brand. Like mine has now become the hat. Like everybody knows I'm either gonna have a sock. I was like, I don't have a favorite team. Like the socks is my team, but I got every hat.
Yeah.
I got every hat because I want to wear every color piece of clothing, right? Like, so it's like, yeah, you're not going to see me without it. It has become a part of who it is. Like, it's funny when the whole NFT thing was real big, there's an artist named Picasso here in Vegas. He sent me a digital image of myself of an NFT.
Oh, that's cool.
And it had the hat, it had the Jordan, it had the bomber.
Picture
like it was, point. So it was like, it's funny. Like it allowed me to see how people see me, right? And so it's okay. So I'm gonna feed into that. That's gonna just be a part of the branding and who you are. So you got to make some more car content.
I know I do. Like, and it performed well, and I think since we kind of talked about this before the podcast, and recently because I've just been around like. I have so many resources at my disposal with like the produced content that I kind of like, I feel like I've gotten away a little bit from me being a little bit more authentic on camera.
Yeah.
And so I want to bring some of that stuff back. And even when I do, like I brought a couple car videos back with me just driving. Cause like you said, it's like, oh, like what did I learn today? Or what's my plan for the day? And I'm just filming that stuff. So like, what kind of message do I want to convey to the sales team? Right. Or like, hey, this was a tough conversation that I encountered and like this was a mistake that I made or this is how I wish I would have done that better. And some of that content's done better and that's done well. So I'm going to kind of like try to integrate that a little bit more. But go ahead.
And I was going to say too, like your brand is Wealthy Business. Your Javi Chavez Wealthy Business, right? I love when Sam posts you singing in the car.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, that's Javi. Like, that's who we get to see. That's how no one else gets to see that person, right? This is giving the opportunity for people that follow you see it. I would also love because I know you being in business, your mind works like this, where you see some type of ad campaign and you're like, oh, that was fire.
Yeah.
Right? I would love to hear about that from you.
That's good.
Right? Like, talk about a business or something that happened that was like, they use this method, right? So it's to stop doing what you're doing and do this type of content, right? Like, this is how you hook them, right? Like, stop doing this, try this, right? And you can bring up, like, even if you were in the car and just driving around and saw a billboard and was like,
yeah, that's good.
Right? Like that kind of stuff. Or, the green screen, social media, I saw such and such just did this, right? Like that type of content resonates because if I'm looking for you for business advice, you're not only giving me what you're doing, but you're recognizing that you understand what everybody else is doing too.
That's smart.
And now I can go, since he knows that, he can't just teach me about what he has going on. He can also teach me what this person is doing and why they're doing it that way. And so again, it builds authority, but it also entertains.
Yeah, that's really smart. And it's funny you bring it up because back when Zillow stopped buying houses, I made a piece of content about that. And it was like one of my best performing videos ever because it was exactly what you're talking about. I was like, something that's happening in the marketplace, something that's kind of relatable, and then my take on it.
Exactly.
And then it blew up. So I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, you have to use those opportunities as collaboration without having to know the person to collaborate. Right? Like there's two ways of doing that. You got dudes that go out there and make goofy videos hating on another creator. Weirdo stuff. Like it's just weird, right? Yeah. Like you're trying to build your brand off of destroying someone else's. It will never work.
And it's always punching up too.
Yeah. And it just won't ever work. Like it actually won't work for you. Right? But then you have the creator that goes, what this person is doing is working. Let me tell you why and how.
Yeah. Or there's even another way to go about it. It's like, hey, this person or this brand did this and I don't agree with it, but here's why.
Here's why.
Right. And that's okay. Like I'm fine. Like I think that's good content. It's like, hey, they did this and for whatever reason it didn't work. And that was part of the like the Zillow video was like, hey, they stopped buying houses and this is why.
Yeah.
Right. And like that's still a good piece of content.
Yeah.
So I would agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when somebody's like, you know, like us just brand new and it's tough for them because they want to get in front of the camera. Like how do they gain confidence in themselves?
No, that's good. Confidence is built through consistency. So you have to just do it. I don't even care if you don't put it out.
Yeah.
Right? Go make 100 videos of yourself that no one ever sees, but continue to get better every time you do a video. All right? And then you'll notice that when you start to release those videos, no one's even watching.
Yeah.
Right. And to me, I want people, especially like in that creator community, get comfortable with no one watching so that you can get all your mistakes out early. Right. You can get all your mess ups. By the time people start watching, you would have grown so much that it'll be really good content. Right. And that's how I'm viewing myself right now. 100%. I'm like, I could do this 1,000,000 times because no one, it's a smaller audience that's seeing it.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't want to wait till 1,000,000 people are watching me and I'm still stuttering over my words, or you can tell that it's not authentic to who I am and I'm still trying to figure out who I am. Like, go through all of that early while no one's watching. And then you also allow your audience to tell you what they want to see. Right. So it's like when I first, October was when we really started putting out content, right? And for me, it was really when I started putting out content because I wasn't even doing the TikTok car driving yet, right? But that's when I start going, what are people going to say about my voice? What are people going to say about how I look? At the time, I was 35 pounds heavier. I'm like, thank you. What are people going to say about when I mess up and I stutter? What are people going to say, about whether or not I'm really an authority of the space? Like, what are people, like those, that's all the stuff that goes through your mind, right? All these objections that you have for yourself on why you shouldn't do it. And then I was like, I put like the first 10 videos out. And I usually don't watch my own stuff because I have access to cut it off. So like I could delete it. So like rather than me deleting stuff, I was like, I just don't watch it, don't even know. Yeah. And then I went and I looked through the comments and it was nothing but positivity. And then probably 6 or 7 videos in, I got my first negative comment. And I was like, this dude didn't even make sense on what he said. Like he obviously didn't actually even listen to the video. Right. And I was like, oh, this is just how it goes. Right. No one's pointing out my flaws or my mistakes and that kind of stuff, right? So your thoughts aren't even real, right? You're thinking of them before they even happen. Most of the time, they never even happen.
For sure.
And so I was like, all right, if I can get other people to understand that, then they should be encouraged on just to post, right? So go make your own videos, right? And if you want to critique yourself, go do that, right? It's going to take you longer to get it out, but do it if you need to. But then just start posting and walking away from it. Leave it. Like my wife was just on the Wealthy Creator podcast, and one of the things I talked about with her, she's not the content creator at all, right? She was like, we can't have 2 of them in the house, so like, it's on you, right? Yeah. And so, but what happened with her the other day is that we caught our son literally worshiping with his hands raised and eyes closed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right, and one, I was like, that's great, we're doing a good job. It confirmed that for me, but the other piece is like, she felt something in the moment because it was like confirmation on her mothering, right? Like on how.
Of course.
So she was like, I don't know, but I feel like I should talk about this. And I was like, you should. Do a video.
Yeah. She
does the video and it's just tons of people DMing her. That is absolutely amazing. I'm doing this for my son, right? And it's just snowballs. And then, she ended up praying for some people in there. She ended up and what happens though is that you realize that it's not about you anymore, right? Especially as a business owner, stop making it about your return and making it about the people that you're actually helping. And that's when you'll see the return.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like focus on the people and that you're actually helping, and then everything else starts to line up in the way it should.
And you never know who's watching too.
Never.
Right? Because it seems like she's not putting out a lot of content. But then the second she does, a ton of people are reaching out to her that were already watching all the other stuff that she's putting out, even though it wasn't very much, right?
Right.
Which I think is just another lesson in just put out the content.
Yeah, because probably 95% of people that watch your content don't ever do anything to let you know that they saw it.
But they're seeing it.
And that's a big thing to think about too, because whether or not I like every video of yours doesn't mean I didn't see it. Whether or not I comment on every video doesn't mean I didn't see it. So just continue doing it and focus on who you're actually helping, especially for business owners, right? Like the goal is to give out value.
And so for a business owner, what if they don't want to do any of the work and they want to go hire somebody? What tips would you give to making their first few hires?
Look for people that will buy into what your brand is, right? Like a lot of people find the closest thing to them, right? Who's the videographer that can come film me? Who's the content manager that can come help me out with this stuff? And those individuals don't actually believe in the brand. So the care for the brand, when you want somebody that cares just as much as you do, you'll never have that, right? Instead, find somebody that actually believes in what you're doing. So one of our editors is in real estate.
Yep.
It makes sense. One of our editors golfs. It makes sense, right? Like this is how we're kind of aligning things. So like I didn't send our golf reels to the guy that's doing real estate. I sent him to the one that golfs. Right. Like and then even more than that, most of our team, if not all of our team, actually on the production side, are all Christians. So they all got one goal, and that's to help people. So I know if they want to help people on the outside, they'll definitely want to help us do what we're trying to build here. Right. And it's just about finding people that align with that. Right. Like we got to find people that align with your brand. And if they don't, when they come in, talk to them and know them enough that hopefully they tend to do that. Right. So I think too, like even when I first hired on with Ryan, one of the things I loved is that in our initial conversation, we talked more about family and faith than we did the actual job. I don't think we got to the job to the very end of the conversation.
It sounds like Ryan.
Yeah, right. Like we were talking about everything else other than that. And I was like, okay, this guy, he's got kids, he's married, right? He's close to the same age I am. Like there was just ways of aligning. And then when he tells me what his vision for the company is, I can get with that.
Got it.
Right. And it was more about how I help grow his brand and the company than it was how much money can I make in this opportunity. Right. Like the money came. Without having to, try to chase it all over the place and be thirsty for it, right? Like it happens because naturally as you grow and you help someone grow, everything continues to elevate. And so you just got to find individuals like that. How to find those individuals can be a little difficult. Yeah. Right. But there's many ways. I did a whole YouTube video on how to find, your creators. But if you're looking locally, use your social media, right? No matter how many followers you have or don't have, put it out there a few times that you're looking for someone. I'm sure somebody's going to share it and get it to who it needs to get to. Your local college, right? Find that hungry young person that is looking to build portfolio, because you may have something that can offer them, what they need in the direction that they're trying to head into. Yep. Right? I wasn't a production student, a student of the arts. I wasn't any of that. I had no plans on getting in production. What I found though is their business. Like Ryan's a good entrepreneur in a business, and that's what I want to learn. So if I can learn and work, it's a win-win, right? Or like I said, one of our editors is in real estate, right? Like he came on as an intern in the real estate company, ended up with us. Right, because he found something that worked, and so you can look in that direction. Like I said, our videographer, 17 years old. We pulled him right out of high school, right? But he knew what he wanted to do. He understood like what it was going to take and what he was going to be around, and he was like, "I'm all in. I just want to learn." Right, and so the opportunity worked good for both parties. So you got your social media, you have your local university or school. Obviously, you can go to like a Fiverr or one of those websites. You're going to get a little less quality with those because those individuals are usually just looking for work. So it's hard to find somebody that will align with you. But to me, the best option is to go to events. Go to whatever meetup is happening in your city. Go to whatever conference is happening in your city. Come to WealthCon.
Yep, April 18th through the 20th.
Yep. And you will see creators in the building, right? Like go up and talk to the guy that's holding the camera, as long as he's not on my team. Yeah. Right. Go talk to that individual though, because even if they can't help you directly with the work, they know someone who can. I spend a lot of my week helping people find someone to do something, right? Like that's. That's just how it goes. Because usually the network or the niche that you're working in, you have a network for that niche. And so that's kind of how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny. Every entrepreneur that I talk to says something very similar when it comes to values, right? And so even when you're hiring for your team, like it's the same exact blueprint. understand that they mesh well with like your mission, your core values. That's number one, man. And that's something that, we always see, whether it be here or with all these other people that end up talking. It's like the reason why something doesn't work out typically is just because they fall out of alignment in either the brand or the values.
Right.
And in an order of operations for me hiring somebody, like who would typically be the first hire that I should look for in terms of like job role?
For content specifically?
Yes.
The first person you want to find is that videographer.
Okay.
Can't do anything without video, right? Unless you're a creator that films themselves. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, the second person you will want would be the content manager, right? Those two, like content manager, producer, these are all kind of the same. Like the roles are interchangeable when you have, someone that really understands it. So let's just break down roles. Obviously, you know what a videographer is. Mm-hmm. Content manager is the individual that's going to take that content and distribute it, right? So as a business owner, you don't have time to just be posting all day long and figuring out what to do here and there, right? Like you want it to be in the hands of someone that can control it, right? So for example, my role as producer was also the content manager, was also the director. Like it was one role, but I was doing different things, right? So I had to be able to understand the videographer aspect too, right? Like you still see, y'all see some of Ryan's videos, y'all still see me in some of them videos filming because I know what's necessary to capture in order to make sure that it gets accomplished the way we planned it. But I have to understand the videographer's role. I have to understand like what the editor is going to do with the video. I have to understand all these things. And so I'm kind of like that hub of figuring it all out. So that individual is also resourceful, right? One thing that Ryan didn't have to do is go hire the editors. I had to do that, right? Because only I would know
what they need, what's needed.
What's needed, right? Like, and so it's like that's how you got to find that person because then your team will come and develop the way it needs to. It starts off though, especially early on, if like you're new, you can probably find the videographer, the content manager, and the editor all in one person. Now, is that sustainable? No. Especially if you plan on consistently putting out work. But at the start of it, you're probably not going to be putting out, a substantial amount of work anyway. So it's like, if you plan on doing 2 a week, one person can do all of those things. If you plan on getting to 5 a week, it's going to get a little bit more difficult, but they could probably do it if they're really good. When you get to doing 5 a week plus podcast and releasing shorts every day on every platform, okay, now we got to start building out. And that's essentially what happened here.
Yeah, that makes sense. So now that we're here, what challenges have you faced as a leader building out your team and holding people accountable?
Oh, I mean, this is Pineda land. So Pineda Company is difficult because there's so many moving parts and so many different like businesses. What started off as just us growing Ryan's brand has now become a wealthy world that's a bunch of different, brands, right? Yeah. And the tough part about it is the team didn't really grow, right? Outside, with the exception of like a couple editors, right? So it's like everybody just took on more work. And I think that's the hard part is that like now I don't just monitor what goes out on Ryan's page. I got to monitor what goes out on every page. So the intake of content is a lot more. But then other than that, it's just accountability, right? Like we're creatives and creatives operate and move at their own speed. That's why they are what they are, right? You're never going to tell a painter to hurry up. Like it's just how it goes, right? And so when you're working in a system that is kind of more corporate, you still got to meet deadlines. You still got to do certain things. And so that's the tough part. Like you're dealing with a different type of personality now because an individual comes in, they want to work on their own speed, right? Like I'll get it done, but I may want to do this at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Not 9 to 5 here at the office. So you got to kind of retrain and refresh people weekly on, okay, let's crank something out. Let's get this done. Let's do this. All right. Are you going to be able to do that? If not, I'm going to give it to somebody else. And so you start to create competitions between each other and all those kind of things that make it work. But it's tough, man. It's like trying to tell your barber to be on time every time. It's
not going to happen.
Not going to happen,
So how, like, and you mentioned it a little bit with like competition and just like constantly reaffirming like, hey, this is what you got to do. But like, how else do you motivate or keep a creative person to those deadlines.
Yeah. No, I mean, with us, it's fun because we do things like trips to Cancun and other pieces. And
by the way, your media team in Cancun was something else.
They had more fun than work for sure. I know that. I told them, I was like, y'all might not be going next time. You might be paying next time you're going. But they had a lot of fun out there for sure. But again, even the challenge of, hey, the footage that I saw from this time is not going to work the next time. I'm going to need some better stuff from you and some more focus. Even that, they go, all right, we're going to lock in, all right? And they go make something of that footage, even though I was like, this is terrible, right? Like that kind of thing. But I create competitions by constantly like reassuring that they are an elite team. That as I travel with Ryan and I go meet other people's media teams, everybody has, oh, Justin, I've been seeing your stuff. Tell me how you all do this, right? And that tells me, yeah, they're watching how we are doing things. And so I always reassure them that like people are paying attention to what you all are doing. So when you all like halfway do a video, it's noticeable, right? It's like, oh, they didn't really put much effort into that one, right? Would you all rather be known as the individuals that don't really put much effort into it, or known as like, no, they're so elite that any opportunity I get to hire them, I will. Any opportunity I get to learn from them, I will. Any opportunity, because I can see like all of them want long-term to grow the business themselves. The same way that they see Ryan doing, you doing, and everybody else is doing. But there's only one way to that route. You got to work, right? You got to go get it. And so that's how I kind of create that competition. I give two people sometimes the same edit. Like when we did the intros to the speakers, everybody had two intros.
Oh, really?
Yeah. May the best man win on this one, right? And what's fun about that is that they get to be there and see it played live so that they get to read reactions. On social media, you don't really get to do that all the time. Yeah. Where a video may take off just because the platform pushes it. Whereas in a room, whether or not people vibe to that intro when they come out, is you can feel that, right? And so I challenge them in that way, and they have little fun games, and everybody talks about who's the best editor, right? Yeah. But I also challenge them with like scheduling and time, like due dates, all right? Hey, I'm gonna give you this edit. Are you able to get it done? Yeah, I can get it done. All right, we'll see, because they trying to do it too. So let me know. All right. And then, you set up pay structures to do a certain way. All right, let's get paid per video. I bet you get a lot more done. Yeah. Right? Let's, what I mean? It's different from when you can give someone a salary and just expect a certain amount. Yeah. I can get way more if I pay them per video. And if it's consistent, they don't mind that, right? So it's things like that, right? So
would you recommend that to somebody, to an entrepreneur? Like, hey, that's how you should comp out for a lot of your editors and stuff, is per video as opposed to a salary when starting out?
I do if you have the means to do so.
Volume.
Yeah, if you have the means to do so. So like, one, you yourself as the talent needs to make sure that that's what you want, because it's not fair to the creator to be paid per video if you decide to take a week off. Yeah. Right. So like, know that it takes consistency. You got to get to that point to be able to do that, but also know that like, that creator is gonna work if you're paying them per video. So you can crank out. Like right now, if you were paying me per video, you can get as much done as you want. I promise you're gonna get them done. Even if I gotta go pay someone else to do it, to help me out, it's gonna get done. Yeah. Right? Because I know. And so you as a creator then goes, all right, I filmed 2 months worth of content, right? And I'll go, all right, in 2 weeks, you won't have to film again for another 2 months. I promise you're gonna have everything you need, right? Like it's just how it goes. So I only suggest that if you are a creator that is already kind of established and consistent, knowing that you're going to be filming all the time, and also you have somebody that is solo to you. Don't try to pay people that aren't solo to you per video, because what they're getting for you, they're going to do one video a day for you, and then they're going to work on their other client stuff. Yeah. Whereas if they're solo to you, they're going to crank out a bunch of stuff. So.
And so coming back to like the format of like short form videos and that kind of stuff, I know like for a very long time, one of our formulas was like hook 1, hook 2, value, call to action, right? Yeah. How valid is that still today? And like, what do you recommend for some of Ryan's videos? And also what do you recommend for, people who are starting out creating content?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's still valid. I think what has changed is how you hook people in, right? So you still need a hook. But how you determine is the best way to do it for your audience is what matters. How Ryan hooks his audience is not how we can do it. All right. No matter how bad I want to go, are you tired of being broke? I can't do that. Yeah. Right. Like it won't work for my audience. Instead, we have to find creative ways that fit us authentically to do that. Right. We're not the the guys that stand in front of the Lamborghinis and hook people in through visual. So really the knowledge and the genuine, like, and being genuine on camera is what gets people, right? So for you specifically, like if I'm talking about you specifically, your hooks need to give me value immediately, but be catchy enough for me to pay attention.
Got it.
Right. So what I have found myself doing is I'll jot down some hooks for myself or some topics, and then I'll go to these AI softwares or I'll go on YouTube and I'll look for a creative way to say it. Right. So here's what I'm going to say. Now make it better. That's literally what my prompts are.
Yeah.
Make it more unique. Make it funny. Make it like whatever, in that sense. And that way, when I do my first scripted, hook, it's more genuine to who I am, and it's worded a little bit different, right? I've learned too, like I actually learned this from Ed Milet. It's like have dialed in ways to answer questions. All right. I was like, okay. He said that to me when I asked him, like, how do you become a better speaker or something like that? And that's one of the things that he said. And he was like, you're going to get the same questions all the time.
Yep.
He was like, have dialed in answers. And the more you say that answer, the better you say it every single time.
Yeah.
And he's like,
it's a sales thing too.
Yeah.
Because that's like what we train upstairs. Like we train how to handle objections.
Right.
And you have like 4 or 5 different ways to answer a question. And then you have your favorites and, you have your pitch and you say it the same way, the same every single time.
And every time you do it, you get better and better at how you deliver it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
and
smart.
So it's the same thing with content. And I learned that from Ryan too. Like he had done, I remember 2022, we did 3,000 videos. Me and Sion like added them up. Like how many videos did we actually film? And it was like 3,000 videos. And I was like, in those 3,000 videos, if we looked at the end of 2021 to the end of 22, you saw a major difference in how he delivers, where he was kind of, it took 45 minutes to get a 12-minute video versus him doing one take through.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and it was just that repetition, but he had dialed in how he says certain things. Right. Yeah. And I was like, this dude talks in hooks all the time now. Like everything could be used. Right. You know what I mean? And that's the point that you want to get to as a creator, because you understand that there's always going to be a camera on you. And so if I'm the actual content rather than me making content, it becomes a lot easier.
100%. And I mean, even doing this and slowly just getting the practice in, and then now I'm doing coaching calls and I'm like, oh, come record it, because I know that I can at least get some content out of it. Because like you said, it's like, you're the content now, and that makes it so much better. Let
me ask you a question. Okay, how much has coaching helped you with your content creation?
I think it's helped with like video ideas. It's helped me understand what people want to hear from me. And also me doing more sales training now and like kind of stepping back into a sales leader has also helped, because I'm back to, dude, like a lot of these people don't know the basic things that I know when it comes to communication and sales. I'm like, oh, these are great video ideas. Yeah. And then also figuring out how to articulate it to them, right? And be like, how can I explain this at a 4th grade level. Right. So those things have really helped me as well. And then also getting on sales calls again. Like I've been taking them and closing them. So if you guys do want to talk to me about wealthy business, we'll chat.
Yeah. But what's the number? Text
702, blah, blah, blah. We'll drop it down at the bottom.
Yeah.
But so understanding like how to kind of rehearse a conversation has also helped with my content creation, I think, for sure.
No, absolutely. And I've had the same experience, right? Like, I was doing the coaching before I was doing like a stage. And the transfer over is just that you got people in front of you and not on a Zoom call. Yeah. But it felt the same. It felt the same. Like a lot of what I can feel of the room, especially if I'm doing Q&A, I have heard in that coaching. Right. So it's like, again, rehearsed answers. Like,
exactly.
I'm always going to get, should I keep my personal page or should I add them together? What should I do? Should I have 2 different pages for my business? I get that question all the time. I know exactly how I'm going to answer it. Right. Like
100%.
These are all things. And coaching has really helped with that. And then understanding how to deliver the message. Right. Like you said, how to articulate this answer and my value well enough for, a 4th grader to understand. It's totally true.
Yeah. And the best part about doing these workshops and stuff too is it was practice for getting on stage and for asking those questions. Yeah. And I mean, I have the same questions all the time too. It's like, what should I do to make my first hire? And like all that stuff. And so, you rehearse and you practice. So I think that's so good. So Justin, last question, man. If you had to leave the earth tomorrow, what's one thing you'd want people to know?
I think when I think of legacy like that, I want people to know 2 things. I know you said one, but I'm gonna give you two.
Yeah, please.
The first thing I want people to know is that I tried my best in everything, right? That like I truly gave it everything I had, no matter what I was involved in. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing would be, I hope that I left an impression on you that then leads you to want to do it for someone else, right? So like I don't believe that legacy just lies with the family. I think legacy lies with the impact that you've had on the masses. And so I hope that, people know that I gave everything I had to make sure I'm leaving an impact.
So good. I got nothing to add. That's it. Peace.